you dream as a kid that, you find a buried treasure. And it happened. It was unbelievable.
Hidden treasures can be found in the most unexpected places. Though professionals like archaeologists and explorers often search extensively for valuable artifacts, many priceless discoveries have been made entirely by chance by lucky individuals who stumble upon forgotten fortunes worth millions. Join us as we explore 15 incredible treasures and rare artifacts uncovered in abandoned places where people least expected to find such precious items. Number 15. Treasure Blanket. California resident Lauren Kritzer's luck turned around in an unbelievable way after a devastating car accident in 2007 left him without a leg and relying on meager disability checks. But a forgotten family heirloom tucked away in his closet changed everything when Lauren realized it was worth over $1 million at auction. While watching Antiques Roadshow on TV one evening, Lauren saw a vintage Navajo blanket from the 1800s being appraised at around $500,000. It struck him that he had a similar-looking blanket that originally belonged to his grandmother. She had used it to wrap up newborn kittens when they were born. Lauren excitedly dug the old blanket out of his closet. His mother was skeptical anyone would pay money for the worn-out-looking textile. She figured he'd be lucky to get $10 for it at a thrift store. However, they decided to have it appraised by experts just in case. To everyone's utter shock, evaluators confirmed the intricate designs and craftwork woven into Lauren's 100-year-old Navajo blanket made it immensely valuable to collectors and museums. Valued around $500,000 on the low end, the winning bid when it was auctioned was a jaw-dropping $1.5 million. No one could believe such an ordinary-looking household item that anyone would pass over without a second glance could sell for such an astronomical sum. But thanks to Lauren's hunch, after recognizing its similarities to the Roadshow blanket, this forgotten Native American relic was rightly recognized as the priceless work of indigenous art it truly was. The auction windfall gave Lauren a new lease on life. He invested some of the profits in stocks, paid off debts, bought a new car and home, and stashed away a nest egg for many comfortable years to come. His grandmother's time-worn blanket gave Lauren the fresh start he deserved. Number 14. Coins in the Wall. Jeff Biddleman worked as a professional home appraiser, hired by families to assess the value of belongings left behind by deceased relatives. When the children of a recently passed elderly couple recruited him to inventory the contents of their childhood home, Jeff approached it like any other job. Little did he know this unassuming suburban house contained a legendary stash of hidden wealth. According to the family's lore, the original owners had a habit of concealing money inside the walls for safekeeping. Their daughter remembered hearing stories as a child of her parents tucking away precious coins within the home's infrastructure. Most dismissed it as a story, but Jeff was intrigued by the possibility. During his inspection, he noticed a peculiar hole in the wall of an upstairs bedroom. It was just large enough to fit a hand inside. As Jeff tapped along the surrounding drywall, one area made a distinctly metallic sound. Jackpot! He broke through the brittle plaster and was amazed when a torrent of coins came cascading out. The coins turned out to be a historic hoard, ranging from 1826 to 1964. There were rare seated Liberty dimes, Indian head pennies, and other valuable specimens. Jeff estimated the entire collection could fetch up to $200,000 at auction. Jeff carefully gathered up the coins and transported them to his appraisal office. He began the meticulous work of sorting and cataloging each piece. Some of the rarest coins he listed on eBay, where avid collectors could bid for the privilege of owning a unique artifact. Sometimes money really does grow on trees, or more accurately, inside walls. This was one legend that turned out to be true, and Jeff considered himself lucky to be part of uncovering the historic hoard. Number 13. Hidden Gems. When Alex Archbold purchased the contents of a late piano teacher's home for just $10,000, he expected to find some vintage furniture and knickknacks, not a bonanza of buried treasures. Alex made his living by buying old homes, rummaging through their contents, and posting his surprising discoveries on YouTube. He was intrigued when he got a call about a 1964 Cadillac sitting abandoned in this woman's garage. Figuring the car itself was worth the investment, Alex jumped at the opportunity without even inspecting the rest of the property first. This impulsive decision ended up paying off far beyond his wildest dreams. As soon as Alex stepped inside the modest house, he realized this was no ordinary estate sale. The teacher had been described to him as a woman of modest means, but her home was bursting at the seams with valuables. As Alex explored each room, he uncovered stunning riches. Vintage Chanel and Burberry designer clothing, antique jewelry with glittering gold and diamonds, and wads of cash from the 1920s tucked away in drawers. Most shocking of all was a 100-ounce silver bar hidden in the back of a closet. Thrilled by his unbelievable luck, Alex documented the treasures for his YouTube fans. By the time he was done unearthing all the hidden gems, he estimated the true value at around $400,000. For only 10 grand out of pocket, this was his best investment ever. While Alex typically loved the thrill of discovery, he was utterly bewildered by the teacher's precious bounty. In retrospect, it seemed she had only dressed modestly as a clever disguise. Her humble clothes and tending old piano belied the fact she had quietly amassed a fortune over the years. Treasures really do come in humble packages. Number 12. Ancient Mayan artifacts. One man's trash is another man's treasure. That's the mantra that junk removal specialist Nick DeMola lives by. As a professional cleaner-outer and artifacts lover, Nick is used to sifting through other people's cast-offs and clutter. But he never expected that a routine apartment clean-out would uncover ancient treasures dating back to the height of the Mayan Empire. Nick's company, Ridgewood Junk Removal, was hired to clear out a New York City apartment that had belonged to a deceased abstract artist. The job seemed straightforward enough. Box up the contents and dispose of any garbage. While sorting through piles of the artist's possessions, Nick spotted an old barrel tucked away in a closet. It was bound for the dumpster, until on a whim, Nick decided to load it into his truck instead. The battered barrel sat forgotten in Nick's warehouse for over 5 years. When he finally cracked it open, he discovered a trove of clay artifacts inside. Intrigued, Nick brought some pieces to an appraiser who determined they were ancient Mayan relics, nearly 2,000 years old. Nick was stunned. This junk barrel contained pieces worth thousands. Further research revealed the extent of the treasures. Many items originated from ancient Mayan temples and burial sites in Mexico. The collection included a rare stone axe likely used for ritual sacrifices, worth $1,000 alone. Other precious finds were clay incense burners, decorated pottery, and tools dating back to the Mayan classical period. In total, the artifacts were valued at around $16,500. A shocking windfall from what Nick had dismissed as trash. To the untrained eye, the weathered pottery seemed like only old knickknacks. Nick himself had planned to toss them back in the barrel. Thankfully, his curiosity won out, and he rescued these Mayan artifacts from obscurity. Number 11. Ford Classics. Hello, car lovers. This one's for you. An anonymous family in Michigan recently lifted the garage door on a hidden trove of classic cars that had sat untouched for over 30 years. When auctioneers were called to assess the fleet, they uncovered a collector's dream: 20 rare vintage Thunderbirds worth over $300,000. The discovery began when the family contacted an auction house for help, arranging a secret meeting at a local restaurant. From there, the auctioneers were escorted to a nondescript property housing the family's buried automotive treasures. As soon as they saw the collection, it was like a scene straight out of a TV show like American Pickers. Dusty antique cars were crammed into every corner of the old garage and barns. Many of the Thunderbirds were in pristine condition, appearing straight out of the 1950s. The star of the fleet was a 1956 Ford Thunderbird convertible valued at over $27,000. But the collection featured other surprises, too. A 1932 Ford Model B worth $16,500 and a 1987 Chevy Silverado truck which fetched over $20,000 at auction. In total, the 30-year-old car cash brought in over $300,000 for the owners. CEO of the auction company RepoCast was thrilled to facilitate the sale. He called the collection a barn find of the century, given the rarity of many models and low mileage. After careful transportation to avoid damage, Scott's team auctioned off the cars to eager buyers. The vintage car community will surely be delighted to see these classics restored to their former glory and back out on the open road. Number 10. 600 gold coins. In the quaint French village of Quimperlé, a crew of construction workers renovating a long-abandoned home made an astonishing discovery one day. A massive cache of gold coins secretly stashed away inside the cellar. They probably thought their lucky day had come, but legally the golden treasure wasn't theirs for the taking. The surprising discovery happened during renovations on a crumbling old mansion. While clearing out the cellar, the crew found a mysterious shell-shaped container hidden in the ruins. Inside was an astonishing hoard. 600 gold Belgian coins dated 1870, featuring the image of then King Leopold II. At today's prices, the stash was worth around 100,000 British pounds. After securing the coins, authorities began investigating their origins to determine legal ownership. This wasn't the first tale of construction crews unearthing buried French treasures. Back in 2014, 3 men renovating a home in Normandy uncovered gold bars and coins worth almost £1 million. Originally keeping their find secret, the trio was caught when tax filings revealed large cash deposits. In Germany, too, an amateur treasure hunter dug up over $1 million worth of Roman gold jewelry, selling it illegally on the black market before police intervened. This means that there are legal dangers of finders keepers with hidden treasures. While it may be tempting to pocket long-lost artifacts, there are proper channels to follow. Ancient relics or cash hoards could be part of a museum collection or family inheritance. Once authorities are notified, they can determine ownership based on the circumstances. The legend of stumbling upon buried riches may sound romantic, but has landed some rogue treasure hunters in legal trouble. Simple construction jobs have uncovered literal gold mines, but workers didn't have the right to keep the booty. The next time you come across strange artifacts in your grandfather's attic or a hidden metal box in the woods, contact a lawyer before making other plans. In most cases, descendants or museums have the best claim over antique treasures, ensuring they are properly cared for. Though you may not get a cut, discovering a piece of the past can be rewarding enough. Number 9. $1 million artwork. Francis Hines was an acclaimed American abstract artist known for his avant-garde sculptures and paintings. When he passed away in 2016, no one knew that he had left behind a massive collection of artwork, stowed away and forgotten in his old barn studio. A year later, as Connecticut mechanic Jared Whipple was clearing out the barn, he came across Hines's hidden trove. Assuming it was just a bunch of junk, Whipple planned to use the odd pieces as Halloween decorations around his home. But what he dismissed as junk turned out to be a priceless collection of works by one of America's most renowned modern artists. Whipple unintentionally uncovered a huge cache of Hines' creations, an extraordinary find hidden right under his nose, sifting through. Whipple found a 1961 canvas signed with Hines's full name. He researched the artist, contacted Hines's family for permission to keep the works. The collection was wrapped in over 8,000 yards of fabric, a trademark of Hines's emulating artists like Christo and Jean-Claude. Whipple saved an uncertain number of pieces from ruin. Experts value the paintings from $12,000 to $20,000 each, and drawings up to $4,500. Number 8. Comics in the basement. While cleaning out the Virginia home of his late great-aunt, Michael Rohrer came across a startling find: a collection of 345 rare comics tucked away in the basement closet. These weren't just any old comics either. The stash had belonged to Rohrer's late uncle Billy Wright, who passed away in 1994 at the age of 66 without ever mentioning his secret trove. Neatly packed inside were valuable vintage issues, including 44 editions of the Overstreet comic book price guide, scarce Golden Age comics from the 1930s to 40s, and coveted Grail issues like Detective Comics 27, the debut comic of Batman and Captain America 2. After researching the collection's worth, Rohr soon realized his uncle had quietly amassed some of the most valuable comics ever published. Dubbed the Wright Corps Collection, spanning 1938 to 41, the comics were a visual encapsulation of Uncle Billy's discerning eye for rarities, even as a young man. And rare they were. When auctioned in 2012, the comics fetched an astonishing $3.5 million. Detective 27 alone sold for over $500,000. Action Comics 1, featuring Superman's first appearance, went for $299,000. Batman 1 from 1940 sold at $275,000. Truly astonishing finds, hidden innocuous in a basement closet for decades. One can only imagine Uncle Billy grinning as he gathered these treasures, knowing the immense value they would one day hold. Sadly, he passed before seeing that immense worth realized. Thankfully. Have you discovered any surprising collectibles or valuables in unlikely places? Share your finds in the comments. Number 7. Pablos Stash. Nicolas Escobar, the nephew of the legendary drug kingpin Pablo Escobar, claims he's uncovered a hidden stash of his uncle's riches, guided by a vision to a secret location on one of Pablo's estates in Colombia. Behind a wall, Nicholas says he found an astonishing $18 million in cash buried in a plastic bag. Before his death in a 1993 shootout, Pablo hid millions in various spots to prevent capture by authorities. For years, he battled the Colombian government and evaded extradition to the U.S. through bribery, intimidation, and violence, becoming the 7th richest person in the world at his peak. After Pablo's demise, rumors swirled across Colombia about his secret stashes. Turns out those rumors were true. Nicholas says, along with the cash, he found a typewriter, phones, a gold pen, camera, and undeveloped film on the property. He'd lived there for 5 years with no idea of the fortune right under his nose. Some bills were too rotten to use after decades hidden. Pablo saw himself as a Robin Hood-like folk hero, but was responsible for thousands of deaths and terrorizing Colombia's government and public. His larger-than-life persona still captures the public imagination decades later. What must it have been like for young Nicolas to have Pablo Escobar as his uncle during the height of his power? While Pablo's criminal empire brought limitless violence and upheaval, it did leave behind intriguing hidden treasure troves for relatives like Nicholas to someday uncover. However, finding Pablo's buried riches can be dangerous, with plenty of shady characters still searching for his hidden millions. Number 6. Brawl Superior Motorcycles. A treasure trove of vintage motorcycles was unearthed in Cornwall after being hidden away in barns for decades by a secretive collector. But these weren't just any old bikes. They were the most coveted and luxurious Brawl Superior motorcycles of their era, handcrafted in Nottingham factories by George Braw, who spared no expense or detail. The collector of these bikes was a man named Frank Vague, and these gorgeous machines were the ride of choice for celebrities and adventurers in the early 1900s, including the legendary Lawrence of Arabia back in the day. Frank clearly had a passion for collecting Brawl Superior bikes over the years, amassing 8 rare models and then squirreling them away in his barns, where they sat untouched for over 50 years. After Frank passed away, auctioneers from Bonhams uncovered the bikes buried under layers of dust and debris. It was no easy task searching them out and cleaning away decades of dirt and grime to reveal the treasures hidden inside the barns. One motorcycle immediately stood out, a 4-cylinder model far more powerful and exceptionally rare than the standard 2-cylinder Braw bikes. Only 8 models of those were ever built, making this the last known, valued at a staggering £120,000. Frank's reasons for secreting away these engineering masterpieces remains a mystery. Some speculate he planned to eventually restore them to their former glory. Sadly, he passed before getting the chance. But thanks to the discovery, the superb lineage and handcrafted beauty of Braw Superior bikes can be restored and appreciated once again. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. You know that sinking feeling when you look down and see a crack in the floor? That moment when your heart drops because you know it means shelling out hard-earned cash on repairs. Well, imagine in that broken floor you discover a secret stash of cash hidden right under your feet. That's exactly what happened to one lucky guy recently. He was doing renovations on his home when a floorboard cracked. But instead of splintered wood, something green peeked through the gap. The green was actually crisp dollar bills, thousands of dollars tucked away like buried treasure. 10, 20, even $50 bills were crammed into the space just waiting to be found. Talk about hitting the jackpot. Can you even imagine stumbling upon a hidden money vault in your own home? What would you do if you found a small fortune under the floor or behind the walls? We want to hear your thoughts. Let us know in the comments. Number 5. Ancient sword. At first glance, it looked worthless, just a rusty old sword pulled from an Irish riverbank. But looks can be deceiving. This unassuming artifact turned out to be an extraordinarily rare and valuable treasure dating back over 2,500 years. The sword was discovered in 1965 by a Northern Ireland farmer while fishing along the River Arnie. Seeing no significance in the corroded blade, he discarded it in a shed toolbox where it lay forgotten for over 50 years. Then in 2017, the farmer and his brother Maurice, interested in local history and battle sites, retrieved the artifact while researching the battles. On a hunch, they had the nondescript sword appraised by experts. You can imagine their shock when they learned this unremarkable rusty object was, in fact, a priceless 2,600-year-old relic dating to between 600 to 800 BC. According to archaeologists, Bronze Age weapons of this vintage are unearthed only once every quarter century, making this an exceptionally rare find. Considering its immense age and historical value, the farmer recognized the sword's great significance to the people of Arnie. He imagined how it must have belonged to an ancient Celtic warrior, purposefully broken and cast into the river as a ritual offering. Moral of the story: what looks like worthless garbage could turn out to be an astonishing centuries-old treasure. 4. A rare penny. A cleaning company employee made an astonishing find under the carpet of a client's home. A rare Australian penny from the 1930s worth up to $40,000. While tidying up the hoarder's house, Charlotte spotted the rusty coin mixed with some 1930s newspaper scraps. Curious, she researched the penny and learned it could be incredibly valuable. According to news reports, a similar 1930s Aussie penny sold at auction for $59,000 in 2022. Another went for a whopping $1.15 million in 2019. Charlotte returned it to the homeowner. As it was their property, she considered it only right, not finders keepers. What made the penny so special? Mint records showed only 1,500 were ever circulated in 1930, making it highly rare. The coins depicted King George V, Queen Elizabeth II's grandfather. All pre-decimal Australian coinage had low mintage, but the 1930 penny stood out. That's what makes Charlotte's serendipitous carpet discovery so amazing. Of course, the penny's owner was likely unaware of its immense collectible value. Thankfully, Charlotte's honesty saved this rare piece of Australian history from being lost forever. Number 3. Box of treasure. We all wished for a box full of valuables buried right in our own backyard at some point in our life. But that's what happened with Staten Island couple Matthew and Maria Colonna Emanuel. While having trees planted, they noticed a rusted safe peeking through churned-up soil. At first, they thought it was an electrical box, but upon opening it, shock and awe. The safe held $50,000 worth of jewelry, cash, gold, and jade. The baffling buried bonanza seemed straight out of a movie. Even more perplexing was how they found it. Turns out wildlife damaging their yard revealed the treasure hiding there all along. Deer had chewed away foliage, granting a clear view of the half-buried safe. An address inside pointed the way to the rightful owners, neighbors who'd been burglarized years prior. They confirmed the safe's theft back in 2011, though had given up hope of its return. Rather than invoke finders keepers, Matthew and Maria did the honest thing and returned their neighbors' lost valuables. The theft was speculated to be the work of notorious NYC burglar Robert Costanzo, aka the Ninja Burglar, who committed some 160 break-ins before jail time. But police couldn't definitively link him to this specific robbery. Number 2. Unopened video game. While tidying his childhood home's attic, Scott Amos found an unopened copy of the classic 1987 video game, Kid Icarus. The game still sat pristinely in its original J.C. Penney shopping bag from 1988, over 30 years prior. Scott's mom had asked him to collect childhood items from the attic, a request that lingered unanswered for 15 years. But when he finally went poking through those forgotten boxes and bags, he uncovered the decades-old Nintendo game, seemingly never gifted or opened. The receipt date of December 8, 1988, suggests it may have been an undelivered Christmas present. Scott's family speculated on how it ended up stashed away, still sealed. His mom assumed she'd stored it there herself long ago and forgot to gift it to Scott. Back in 1987, Kid Icarus retailed for $38, which is around $80 today. He thought it might fetch him a couple $100 at most at auction. But gaming history experts were thrilled by the pristine copy of the classic NES game Kid Icarus from the 1980s. When auctioned online, it sold for an astonishing $9,000. According to the auctioneer Heritage, only about 10 sealed copies of Kid Icarus are known to exist. Scott's attic find was exceptionally rare and valuable. It just goes to show, you never know what hidden treasures might be collecting dust in an attic. Who knows? Maybe there's a prized rarity like Scott's waiting to be found in one of our attics. Number 1. The Schroeder Treasure. Sometimes the most implausible stories turn out to be true. Just ask the construction worker who made an unbelievable discovery in 1988 while renovating an old telephone exchange in the Polish town of Schroeder Treasure. As he worked, something metallic buried beneath the floor caught his eye. Figuring it was junk, he flipped the items over with his spade. But instead of discarded trash, the worker uncovered a millennium-old trove of ancient treasure hidden right under the building. What had seemed impossible was actually real. The centuries-old cache of gold and gems had been buried beneath the floors, lost for over 1,000 years before the workers' chance finding. What emerged from the dirt that day was a 14th-century treasure hoard worth an estimated $120. It contained over 4,000 gold coins minted in Prague and elsewhere, along with a golden crown and other precious jewels. As word spread, the public descended into a frenzy, scrambling to grab scattered coins. Police had to step in to protect the historic find. Their sweep of the area turned up even more coins hidden in homes. The government moved to purchase the treasure from any private citizens in possession of it. Archaeologists were brought in to investigate the treasure's origins, unearthing additional items like brooches and pendants from the building's basement. The jeweled golden crown provided the biggest clue, allowing historians to pinpoint the treasure's ties to Emperor Charles IV of the House of Luxembourg in the 1940s. It turned out Charles had pawned the valuables to a Jewish banker in Schroeder. But when the plague struck, the banker perished, leaving the fortune concealed for centuries beneath the town. By a stroke of immense luck, this priceless remnant of medieval history avoided being accidentally destroyed during renovations. The construction worker had no idea the building housed riches dating back 700 years. His serendipitous discovery revived intrigue surrounding Emperor Charles IV and the long-lost treasures. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.